Hi everyone, welcome to the .NET Framework tutorial for absolute beginners. If you are looking for information about what .NET exactly is, what it can do for you and how it can help you or your customers, I believe you have come to the right place because this is the first among a series of basic .NET video tutorials that I'll be posting here. The series would mainly talk about .NET Framework, the architecture, the design features and other stuff related to the .NET Framework. After that, I will move on to the C# programming language and explain about the various language features and also how it is used for developing .NET applications. While doing so, I will be showing you code samples and example programs that would help you understand the concepts better. As for this first session, I will only talk about the very beginnings of the .NET framework, like what exactly .NET framework is, why was the need to develop .NET framework, and I'll give you a very brief history of .NET. Then I will talk about the flavors that .NET provides and also the features that it provides to the developers. Now, coming to the what and why of .NET Framework. First, I'll tell you what exactly .NET Framework is. Basically, it is just a software framework that helps in language interoperability. That is, it is a framework where applications developed in various languages can run at a time and also interact with each other. That is, say I have an application which I have developed in C# and another person has his own application which he has developed in maybe Visual Basic VB. So if we have developed both our applications on the .NET framework, our applications can very easily interact with each other using the common base framework, that is .NET framework. I will talk about language interoperability further. Now, as for now, just remember that .NET provides an excellent framework for having language interoperable applications. And another thing to consider here is that the programs written for .NET framework execute inside a software environment known as the Common Language Runtime. I will discuss this in my further videos, but as of now I will only stop here. Next is the base class library that is provided by the framework. Base class library is nothing but a huge set of functionalities that are readily available for developers to use. Say for example, a developer wants to use a basic functionality, he can directly call it from the base class library instead of coding it himself. So that's the power of base class library. This is just one mere very small example that I gave to you. So that's what base class library is mainly used for. Okay, and while developing applications, the developers basically produce their software by combining their own source code that they have written along with the base class library functionalities that is provided by the .NET framework itself. Coming to the history, .NET was first announced back in 2000, and from then up to maybe about 1.5 years it was into beta phase, and then it was finally officially released in March 2002. And I believe this is the history that is required, and I don't think you would need more than this. So I will directly move on to the next slide. Okay, coming to the flavors. Before this, I would like to tell you that there is a general belief among developers that .NET is a one single technology, but this is actually not true, because .NET is actually a group of technologies that are working together to solve your problems or maybe help the application in running successfully. So it's actually a group of technologies as opposed to a single technology. And if you're wondering what kind of applications that you can develop in .NET, now this is the list here. The first is ASP.NET Web Applications, that is your websites or web applications, other web applications. Next is Windows Forms based applications. Windows Forms based applications generally refer to traditional rich client applications at the client side. They don't generally have a web UI and sort of. Next is the console applications. Console applications refer to the traditional DOS kind of applications like the batch scripts. Then you have component libraries. Component libraries are they typically encapsulate a specific functionality or some business logic or something like that. Next you have Windows custom controls. Windows custom control is like, you might have heard of traditional ActiveX controls. Now in using .NET you can develop your own Windows controls as well, and the same applies to web custom controls as well. This is basically used for code reuse and modularization. Like if you have developed your own custom control, you can as well reuse it elsewhere. Then you have something called web services. Now web services are very powerful mechanism because they are nothing but web callable functionalities available across over the internet via communication standards like HTTP, XML and SOAP. Basically what web services is that, say you develop a functionality, some particular functionality XYZ, and you host it at a particular location. Now say other developers want the same functionality. So what they can do is, instead of writing their own code again for the same functionality, they can just directly call your web service and make use of the functionality. So this is again code reuse and saving the developers time. Next you have Windows services. Windows services generally refer to applications that run as services in the background of your system, and they can be configured to start automatically when the system boots up, or maybe you can start them explicitly. That's totally up to you. .NET provides that flexibility to you. Now coming to the .NET Framework SDK. Now I just showed you a list of applications types that can be developed using this .NET framework, right? So you would have got a question as to, okay fine, that's the list, but how do I actually start develop the application? Now for this, .NET framework SDK is used, and SDK provides all the basic classes, interfaces and language compilers that are required for any application to run. And the base class library that I talked about some time back is a part of SDK. Basically it provides, like I said, a huge set of functionalities, readily available functionalities that can be used by the developers for performing their activities. The development tools that can be used for developing .NET applications are a lot. Like if you have .NET framework installed in your system, and with a notepad you can actually start developing .NET application, but that's a little bit hard. So for that purpose you have this amazing IDE that's called Visual Studio, which helps in developing .NET applications very easily. It's a very powerful IDE and it provides a huge set of functionalities. I have just listed very few of them here, which are majorly used by all the developers, that are drag and drop design. You can just drag and drop controls onto your, maybe if you're developing a website, so you can directly drag and drop maybe a text box or a button onto your page, and .NET will Visual Studio will automatically write the code in the background. You don't have to write the code from scratch. Then you have IntelliSense features. IntelliSense is nothing but, if you start typing the name of a control, Visual Studio will automatically try to autocomplete that, so you don't have to type the whole thing or the whole word. Then you have syntax highlighting and auto syntax checking. So that's like if you are writing a code, Visual Studio will automatically compile it in the background immediately, and if there are some errors, it will immediately show you those errors, so you can correct them then and there. Basically, that's for reducing the number of bugs or errors in the application. And you have other features like debugging tools, integration with with version control systems, easy project management, and stuff like that. You don't really need to go into the depth at this moment, so having idea about this is enough. So moving on to the next slide. .NET redistributable. Now, for for applications that are developed using .NET, there has to be some base on which the application should run, right? So that base is nothing but our .NET framework. And .NET framework, in the sense, I mean a runtime environment that should be there for the applications to run. So this runtime environment is called .NET redistributable. It's nothing but a group of runtime files for required for running applications. And then you have a single installer, .NET redistributable installer, that contains the common language runtime and other framework components that are necessary for the applications to run. So it's just one single MSI that you can download and run, and once you have run that, your system is ready to run any application that is developed using .NET framework. That is nothing but .NET redistributable. Okay, coming to the features that .NET provides, I will talk about each one of them individually slowly so you can better understand them. First is rich functionality out of the box. Now, .NET framework, like I said, provides a rich set of functionalities, and it contains hundreds of classes that provide variety of functionality which is ready to use in your application. Like I said to you before, base class library, it provides a huge set of readily available functionalities. So the main advantage of this is the developer doesn't need to go into low level details of many operations, such as maybe you have file IO, network communication, and so on. He can directly use the functionality. So next is easy development of web applications. There is one technology provided within .NET. It's called ASP.NET. ASP.NET is the technology that is used for developing dynamic and data-driven web applications. It provides an event-driven programming model that simplifies development of web pages. So as of now, you don't need to concentrate more on that. So basically what you need to understand is ASP.NET provides a very easy way for developing web applications using .NET framework. Even though if you have a even though you might have a very complex UI for the website, but ASP.NET controls that are provided by .NET framework make it a very easy task to develop the website. And basically it saves a lot of coding time, as well as helps the developer develop better site. Next is OOPS support. So obviously .NET framework has all the advantages of object oriented programming, and .NET provides fully object oriented environment. The philosophy of .NET is mainly object is like the mother of all. So languages like Visual Basic .NET and other languages also support object oriented features that were lacking traditionally in the traditional Visual Basic language. Even primitive types like integer and character can be treated as objects, something not available even in object oriented languages like C++. So that's the power that .NET has given. Next is the multi-language support. Like I said earlier, applications that are developed in .NET can actually be written in different languages. It can be C++, it can be C sharp, it can be VB, but all of them are commonly executed in the same runtime environment after compiling. So that's the power of multi-language support. Next is the multi-device support. By multi-device support, I'm talking about you have you have these smartphones everywhere these days. So .NET also provides that you can develop applications for mobile phones as well using .NET Compact framework. So that is another flavor of .NET that is provided. Next, you have automatic memory management. While developing applications, developers have to have an eye on system resources like memory. The memory is very important. Memory leaks used to be major reason in failure of applications. Now .NET takes this tension away from the developers by automatically handling memory in the background. Basically the garbage collector takes care of all this. It generally frees all the unused objects at appropriate intervals of time. So that's how automatic memory management is done. Compatibility with COM and COM+. Now, before .NET was introduced, COM was the de facto standard for componentized software development. Companies had invested a lot of money and efforts in developing COM components and controls. The good thing now about .NET is you can still use COM components and ActiveX components as well under .NET itself. So you don't have to develop the components again separately for .NET. You can directly reuse them as well. Same is the case with COM+ as well. So that's a very good feature that is provided by .NET, and the developers are really happy about it. And another major breakthrough of .NET was .NET has completely removed the DLL hell problem. If you don't know what DLL hell is, I'll tell you. Suppose if you I'm sorry, suppose if you have developed an application that makes use of a particular DLL with version 1.2, and suppose on the same system you have an application which makes use of the same DLL of version 1.1 that doesn't have some of the features of version 1.2. Now if you put both the assemblies in maybe in the GAC, there will be an ambiguity for the applications that as to which version of the DLL should that application use. So this is nothing but DLL hell. So this is completely eliminated by .NET. So that's a really good point. Next is strong XML support. Well, nowadays it is hard to find a programmer who is unaware of XML because XML has gained such a strong industry support. Currently .NET is the only platform that has built with XML right into the core framework, because .NET tries to harness power of XML in all possible ways, because everywhere all kinds of communications takes place using XML itself. And in addition to providing support for manipulating and transforming XML documents, .NET provides XML web services that are based on standards like HTTP and XML and SOAP. Moving on to the next one is ease of deployment and configuration. Now deploying Windows applications, especially that use COM components, was always a tedious task. Now since .NET does not require any registration as such, much of the deployment is simplified. So basically even in Visual Studio itself there is just one button called deploy. Just click that button and your deployment is done. So that's how simple it has become. Coming to the security, well, Windows platform was always criticized for poor security mechanisms, and most of us know that. So this time Microsoft has taken great efforts to make .NET platform safe and secure for enterprise applications. Features such as type safety, code access security, and role based authentication make overall application more robust and secure. So that's about security. So I would like to stop here for this one session, and in the next video I will further introduce the framework in depth. I will also talk about the architecture of the .NET framework. Then I'll also discuss each component of the architecture and functions that performed by them, and then I will finally move on to the structure of a basic .NET application. So thanks a lot guys for watching and taking your time out for watching this boring video. If you are interested and if you find this useful, please do subscribe to my channel, and also you can follow my blog as well. I keep on blogging regularly on this site. So hope to see you again. Thank you.